Every single day, Tokyo's rail network carries approximately 40 million passenger journeys. Not 40 million people, 40 million trips. Many people make 2, 3, or 4 separate journeys across different lines in a single day. The actual number of individual boardings, transfers, and alightings that occur across Tokyo's rail system in a 24-hour period is a figure so large, it stops feeling like a transportation statistic and starts feeling like a fact about physics. For reference, 40 million is roughly the entire population of California, moving through one city's train network every day. And it works. Trains arrive on time, transfers connect, platforms clear, passengers flow. The whole system, 40 different lines, operated by 10 different companies, connecting hundreds of stations across a metropolitan area home to 37 million people, runs with a consistency and a precision that no other city on Earth has managed to replicate at anywhere near this scale. How does Tokyo do it? The first thing to understand about Tokyo's rail system is its sheer complexity, because the complexity is itself part of what makes it work. Tokyo's network is not one system. It is many systems, operated by multiple companies that have been integrated over decades into something that functions as a single coherent whole. JR East, a privatized former national railway, operates the major commuter lines, including the Yamanote Loop that circles central Tokyo. Tokyo Metro and Toei operate the subway lines beneath the city. Numerous private railways, Tokyu, Odakyu, Seibu, Tobu, Keio, and others, operate lines extending into the suburbs and connecting at major interchange stations. Each company owns its own tracks, its own trains, its own stations. Each has its own ticketing system, its own maintenance schedules, its own operational culture. And yet, from the passenger's perspective, this fragmented ownership structure is largely invisible. You tap your IC card at any gate, transfer between any lines, and arrive anywhere in the metropolitan area without ever thinking about which company's track you're currently riding on. This integration was not designed from scratch. It evolved through decades of negotiation, standardization of ticketing technology, alignment of timetables, and the physical engineering of interchange stations built to move massive volumes of passengers between lines as efficiently as possible. The result is a network with a total route length of over 2,000 kilometers, more than 1,000 stations, and a passenger capacity that dwarfs every other urban rail system in the world. The 40 million daily trips do not happen randomly. They are orchestrated. Tokyo's rail timetable, the master schedule that determines when every train on every line departs every station, is one of the most complex documents in operational logistics anywhere in the world. It is not simply a list of times. It is a 4-dimensional puzzle. Trains moving through space and time, intersecting at hundreds of points, with every connection engineered to work. Building this timetable is a year-round process. Planning teams use sophisticated simulation software to model passenger flow, calculate optimal headways between trains, and design schedules that minimize transfer waiting times across the network. On the busiest lines during peak hours, trains run every 90 seconds, meaning the headway between consecutive trains is tighter than the time it takes to make a cup of coffee. At this density, the margin for error is nearly zero. A delay of 90 seconds on one train means it is almost touching the train behind it. A 2-minute delay on a central line propagates across a dozen connecting lines within minutes. The timetable is not just a schedule. It is a living system, and its health depends on every component running precisely as designed. What makes this possible is not just technology. It is the human system behind the technology. The dispatchers monitoring the network in real time, the station staff coordinating platform operations, the drivers executing the schedule to second-level precision. and the passengers whose orderly behavior makes the rapid loading and unloading that the timetable requires actually achievable. 40 million daily trips pass through physical stations, and those stations are engineered with an intentionality that most passengers never consciously notice, but that shapes their movement at every step. Tokyo's major interchange stations, Shinjuku, Shibuya, Ikebukuro, Tokyo Station, are among the most complex buildings in the world. Shinjuku Station has over 200 exits. Tokyo Station has over 50 platforms. These are not just large buildings. They are precision instruments for managing the movement of hundreds of thousands of people per hour without creating the crushing bottlenecks that would make the system collapse. The engineering of these stations reflects decades of study of how people actually move. Staircase placement is calculated to distribute passenger flow evenly across platform lengths. Escalators are positioned to pull people away from congestion points before they form. Corridor widths are sized not for average flow, but for peak flow, the absolute maximum volume the station must handle without breaking down. Platform screen doors, the glass barriers between the platform and the track that open only when a train is present, serve multiple functions simultaneously. They prevent falls and accidents. They stop people from crowding the track edge. They also create a clean, flat interface between train and platform that speeds boarding and alighting by removing the anxiety of standing at the edge of a live track. The painted boarding lines on platforms, showing passengers exactly where to stand for each door, are perhaps the simplest and most effective piece of station design in the entire system. By pre-positioning passengers in the exact spots where doors will open, they eliminate the chaotic scramble for position that slows boarding in most transit systems and allow loading to proceed with the speed the 90-second headways require. No engineering solution, however sophisticated, can move 40 million passengers efficiently without those passengers actively cooperating with the system. Tokyo's commuters do cooperate, with a consistency and a discipline that is itself a remarkable operational achievement. Passengers stand in lines on the platform before the train arrives in the exact positions marked. When the doors open, the lines part to let exiting passengers out first. Boarding is fast, typically completed in under 30 seconds per door, even on crowded trains, because everyone knows what to do and does it without instruction or hesitation. On the trains, passengers distribute themselves along the carriage rather than clustering near the doors. Heavy bags are managed to minimize impact on adjacent passengers. Noise is kept low, not because anyone is enforcing silence, but because the social understanding that a crowded, shared space requires consideration is simply part of how Tokyo commuters move through the world. During the most extreme peak hours on the busiest lines, platform staff, called oshiya, pushers, do literally push passengers into overcrowded carriages to allow doors to close. This practice, which became internationally famous through photographs in the 1970s and 80s, is less common today as capacity has been expanded and off-peak travel has been encouraged. But it exists, and the fact that it functions, that passengers accept being physically pushed into a train by a uniformed stranger, is itself an expression of the same collective orientation. The train needs to depart. You are part of making that happen. This is your contribution. The 40 million daily trips are not just a product of infrastructure and scheduling. They are a product of 40 million individual decisions made simultaneously and continuously to participate cooperatively in a shared system. A system of this scale and density is not immune to disruption. What distinguishes Tokyo's network is not the absence of problems, but the speed and precision with which problems are managed. When a delay occurs on one line, mechanical fault, medical emergency, adverse weather, the ripple effect across the network is immediate and complex. A 5-minute delay on the Chuo line affects connection times at Shinjuku for passengers transferring to the Yamanote, which affects Shibuya, which affects the Tokyo lines heading into the suburbs. The cascade is fast and wide. Tokyo's rail operators manage this through a network control system that provides real-time visibility across all lines simultaneously. When a disruption is detected, dispatchers can adjust signal timing to create space in the schedule, communicate with station staff to prepare for increased platform crowding, and issue passenger information across the network within seconds. The goal is to absorb the disruption locally before it compounds into something larger. Passengers are informed continuously and accurately. Display boards, PA announcements, and mobile apps update in near real time. The transparency of information during disruption is itself a management tool. Passengers who know what is happening and how long they will wait make calmer, more distributed decisions than passengers who are uncertain, and calmer passengers create fewer secondary problems for the system. Tokyo also sits on one of the most seismically active regions of the planet. The system's response to earthquake risk is built into its infrastructure at every level. Automatic train stopping systems that halt all trains in the network within seconds of a significant seismic event, track geometry designed to survive moderate earthquakes without derailment, and evacuation procedures tested regularly for major stations. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake, one of the strongest ever recorded, stopped every train on the Tokyo network simultaneously. Passengers were stranded in stations and on platforms across the city, and the stations held. The infrastructure held. Within days, the system was running again.
How does Tokyo handle 40 million daily train trips? Not through any single system, not through any single decision or any single piece of engineering. Through the accumulated, coordinated, continuously maintained effort of a network of institutions, technologies, and people, each doing their specific part with the precision the whole requires. The timetable that engineers 90-second headways. The stations designed to the centimeter for human flow. The dispatchers watching the whole network simultaneously from control rooms. The platform staff with their white gloves and their practiced signals. The passengers who stand in the right lines, board in the right order, and distribute themselves across carriages with an efficiency that most crowds never achieve. And underneath all of it, the cultural foundation that makes the human part of the system function. The understanding, shared by tens of millions of people, that a system this large and this precise only works if everyone treats their small part of it seriously. 40 million trips. One day, one city. It is, by any reasonable measure, one of the greatest logistical achievements in the history of human civilization. And it happens again tomorrow.